Snyder stopped by to talk about the state's proposed budget. I sat down for a one-on-one interview hoping to get clear-cut answers about the future. Governor Rick Snyder released his proposed $52.1 million budget this week. He's allotting $65 million to expand preschool education, $83 to $111 more per pupil funding. But some critics argue with a $971 million surplus, why not more for retirement accounts?
What do you say when they say, why can't we have more for our retirement accounts?
Well, we're in fact increasing the number. You mentioned those other couple numbers. We're setting aside an additional $270 million for the retirement fund. So we are putting a huge investment. The biggest piece of our budget increase for education is going towards teacher retirement.
The eyes of the country are paying close attention to Detroit's bankruptcy and the role the governor has played when it comes to a conclusion. Detroit is the largest municipality to ever go through bankruptcy, and many other cities are facing the same fate. But how we got here is also being watched here at home as the governor faces re-election in November. Michigan voters said no to the emergency manager law, but Detroit still ended up with an EM.
How do you reassure voters in the city and really across the state of Michigan that if you're put in office again, their voices and their votes will be heard? Because a lot of people feel that this last go-round, they were crushed.
Actually, in fact, we took what they said, we listened very carefully and made modifications based on the key issues they brought up during that campaign in terms of adjusting the new law to take those things into account.
Can we talk about unions for a second? I know I asked you about the right to work legislation before, but some of your critics have said that there's a concerted effort by Republican governors put in right to work legislation and to get rid of unions. How do you respond to that, especially with the right to work legislation being pushed through here in Michigan?
I've been clear. I don't believe right to work was anti-union. What it does is stand up for hardworking Michigan people to basically say, if you like the union, if they're giving you value, join. I think that's great. If you don't see any value, you should be able to keep your resources, and hopefully the unions will come back and offer you some value proposition you get excited about, and then join.
Well, now that the governor has planned out his budget, it has to go before the legislature for approval. We will certainly continue to follow him on that campaign trail and ask him the questions. The new fiscal year begins in October.